Good morning. Okay, so I thought I would just go ahead and give you some of the details about timed reading this year. I passed out the timed reading packets on Monday and Tuesday, and of course we all know how enthusiastic we are about timed reading. So I thought I would explain just a little bit of the purpose, our evaluation, scheduling, and just general directions, okay? So first of all, the purpose of timed reading. It is not to torture students, just in case you were concerned that that was actually the purpose. It is not. It turns out, and you may not actually realize this, people your age don't like to read as much as they once did. I'm surprised as well as I think you are. So, if that's news to you, well, let me be the one to tell you. Most of the people around you don't enjoy reading. Whenever we don't enjoy things, what do? Well, I avoid things if I don't like it. Like, for instance, I don't enjoy having to play like organized sports. Like if I'm on a team, I'm kind of terrible at them all. You will never see anybody as bad at, say, basketball as me, or volleyball. I mean, I can make that ball go to amazing places, but not over the net necessarily. So what I do is I avoid being in situations where I have to do that. Okay, does that make sense? Interestingly, we're all kind of the same in that general area. So if we don't like a thing, if we don't find it enjoyable, if it hasn't given us a lot of positive feelings as we were completing it, we don't end up going back and trying that again. You may think of like the way you think of vegetables. If you're one of those people who hates vegetables, you avoid them, right? You push them all around your plate and try to hide them with other things and then hope mom and dad don't see. Maybe that's what my kids do. Maybe it's just me. So we avoid the things that we don't like. Now, unfortunately, reading is a skill you will need your entire life. Ironically, English class is probably one of the most useful classes as far as a skill set that you will always use. You will always have to speak in front of people at some point in your life. For those of you who are introverts and you were hoping that you could get away with not doing that much in life, sorry, it's not going to work out. You will always have to write some things coherently in life, and people will kind of judge you whenever you write poorly. And then you will always need to be able to interpret what you're reading in life. And if we never practice that, well, then I have to help you. Do you see? Okay. So, I'm not laying any fault anywhere. We do this across all 4 years. The people who are great readers can actually improve some of their reading skills from doing this. And you may think it's a lot of terribleness, and why would we ever do that? The passages aren't even interesting. Why would you make us read that? No, that's good. That's what we want. Because sometimes in life, you know what you have to read? Stuff that you're not interested in. Again, I can't tell you how many times I read things I'm not interested in. It makes me sad. But I can do it. I can focus my mind and make myself do it. That's the skill we're trying to learn with these, okay? So there is a skill set that is related to this that is important. Is this the most important thing we ever do in life? No. Will this help us some with how we read? If we try to kind of pay attention to what we're doing while we're doing this? Yeah, for sure, okay? Okay, so some things it does. So whenever you're reading the A passage, that A passage is all about it's all about paying attention to what you're reading and then turning the page and answering the questions without looking back. So if you remember that from last year, of course, you're supposed to turn the page and not look back at the A selection. Now you have a packet of all of the papers at your house. And you're going to be able to put the passage on the screen if you wanted to and answer the questions looking at the passage. Of course you could do that because you're going to be doing this at home. But if you want to get the most bang for your buck as far as making this work for you, well then you need to, with the A selections, you need to read it, turn that page, and see what you remember. Because the problem is we all zone out a little bit whenever we're reading stuff we don't care about. This is a fact. I zone out too. Sometimes I get my pencil and I'm like, oh, I've got to underline things so I remember them. So maybe that's a thing you can do. But whenever you're reading that A selection, flip it over, don't look back, and see what you know. This is really important, okay? Okay. Then whenever we get to the B selection actually helps us with all sorts of really interesting things. So it helps us recognize words in context. You know, nobody knows the meaning of every single word in life. I do not know like the definition of every single word that I've ever seen. A lot of times I'll be like, use it in a sentence. And then from the sentence, I can kind of get from the context of what the person is saying, what the word means. And we do that. If you remember back to last year, you know, whenever you were reading, well, just think about any time you've read something like a Shakespeare play and you were looking at words that you didn't always understand, but in the context of what was being said, you could kind of figure it out, right? If you let yourself think about it and didn't just like go like, I don't know the words, can't do it, nope. Okay, so we want to recognize words in context, even though we don't know every word, because nobody on earth knows every word. That's not a thing. There's nobody out there who does. I'm not sure that would be super cool because words are changing all the time. So there's no way to even have all of that information. We have a vocabulary that's constantly evolving. We have new words. You know, think of the word iPod. That wasn't a word before 2000 whatever. You know, think of flash drive. Think of all of these words that, you know, flash drives that are now becoming a little obsolete because nobody needs them, right? iPhone, that wasn't a thing. If you'd said iPhone back in the 1980s, they would have been like, does the company's name start with an I? You know, like what do you mean iPhone? That's weird. So the language is constantly evolving. There's no way to keep up. So because we don't know all the words, we need to recognize words in context, obviously. Distinguishing between fact and opinion. Hey, listen, not to throw shade any particular place, but do you know people in real life? Maybe they get on social media a lot and they rant about stuff, and they're not so good at figuring out the difference between fact and opinion. Oh no. And I apologize if that sounds like I'm talking about anyone you know. I'm talking about like a lot of people I know. So there's no shade thrown directly at any one person, okay? Throwing it out there. Okay. So we need to be able to do that because so many people are like, oh my gosh, did you see this thing? And oh my gosh, like the government, they're trying to control us and everything is communism and our country is just terrible. And no, that's somebody's opinion. It's not necessarily facts. Like, you know, maybe the world isn't as bad as it seems like people are saying it is if we look at facts rather than opinions. You know, when people are like, this person's a great leader, this person's a terrible leader, opinions. Look at the facts. So, fact versus opinion, that's tough. Okay. But we definitely need to know it, right? Am I right? All right. Okay, and then the ordering of events, like what comes first, second, third? Like we need to be able to catch that whenever we are reading something. We need to understand if there's like a causal relationship, cause and effect, something came first and then something else happened as a result. Boy, that's important, right? Oh my gosh, we need to know that. We need to know how to make inferences. Making an inferences are like one of my favorite things, and we all do it. We all make inferences. Inferences are when you read between the lines. Now, whenever we're actually reading in here, we're like, and you're not really paying attention to what is being said without actually saying it. But listen, when you walk up to your locker in the morning and your best friend is standing at his or her locker and they look like maybe they just woke up and they look like, you know, like they're the saddest person in the history of humanity. And you look at them, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to think, something seems not right. Something seems off. we don't always take, like the information that we gain, we don't always take from the explicit words that are on the page. Sometimes in stories, sometimes in real life, we're actually reading between the lines. What is not being said? Sometimes people say more with what they're not saying than with what they are saying. And sometimes in stories, in things that we read, they say things in such a way that what they're not saying kind of is the point. So we need to understand inferences. Now you do it all the time in real life. Let me just say, you walk out, you see your best friend at the locker and you're like, uh-oh, oh no, okay, let's think, what can we do to make this better? Like you instantly know what to do. But when it comes to reading, we're like, no, I don't get it. What do they mean? It's weird. So we need to do this better whenever we're reading, okay? And then the last thing, identifying and understanding main ideas. Whenever we're reading something, what's the main thing that the people are trying to tell us? That is something that's really important for us to know, okay? Okay, now, all of those are little parts that we take time within the B selection, those 5 different areas, okay? So we need the A section, we need the B section, we need to make sure we're understanding what we read, that we're remembering what we read, and then we need to know all of these different kind of deeper concepts when it comes to reading. And they're all important. So that's kind of the purpose. Now again, you're like, oh my gosh, but I'll never have to be tested like this, multiple choice is so stupid. Okay, first of all, if you're heading to college, you will be taking standardized tests. And I think sometimes they make the standardized test particularly awful and boring on purpose because you have to be super strong to actually get through it. Am I right? Right. So this is practice for that. And no matter what, you will be facing tests at some point later on in life. I've taken a bunch of tests through the years. So you want to be able to kind of answer some questions on a topic, okay? Okay, now, how you'll be evaluated on this. I've been kind of back and forth on this. I feel like that it would probably be a great idea for you to get a working grade for this. I don't want this to necessarily I don't want to bring more pain into the world. This is not about catching you not reading well, and I really want you to use this to the best of your ability. So probably there'll be a grade attached to each one. I want to sense that you're willingly complying and that you're going through the task and you're doing your best. Probably there will be 10 points or so that are attached to each one of these. And then, of course, that grade will be affected if it does seem like you're non-compliant, like you're missing a bunch on purpose. You go through and you just seem to be kind of trying to get done with this because you don't care. Okay, so just be aware that that is something that would impact your grade. Okay, now the scheduling for this, we're going to be doing, there's going to be a couple each month. So like there's 2 in September, 3 in October, 2 in November, 1 in December because December's hard and there's a lot of stuff we're doing. And then after Christmas, we're doing a couple in January, 3 in February, 2 in March, and then we're done, okay? And if for some reason something comes up, maybe we're trying to get through for that second part, if for some reason we missed the last one or something, it's not going to harm anything, okay? But we just want to get this practicing in. Remember, we're only doing 15 this year, okay? Okay, so what you're going to do whenever you go to take these tests, you're going to, so everything's going to be on the mornings that we have this. And again, we're always going to be doing this on Wednesdays. So always within the time period of your hour that your class is happening, I will load these into your class. So you will have a PDF copy of the A selection, and then you'll read that, and then you'll take a Google form of the A test. Okay, and then you're going to do the same thing with the B selections, and all of that will be loaded into Google Classroom. I expect by the time we get done and we're kind of in sync with how we're doing this is going to take maybe, it'll maybe take 12 to 15 minutes the first time or two that we do it because it may be different. If you're reading on the screen or if you're reading that PDF copy that you're all going to have in those packets. That may be a little bit weird to get used to, but once we do, it's good, okay? So I think at that point it'll take us 8 to 12 minutes each week to complete this, okay? Now, remember test day, you're not supposed to look back. Part of what you're testing is how much you're remembering. And you really want that. You want to know if you pay attention whenever you're reading stuff, right? And then test B, that's the one where you really try to think it through. You really try to, it's okay to maybe underline some things. It's okay. I'm always, whenever I'm reading something, I am always underlining things because it just helps me kind of stay focused. And then sometimes those questions, man, they're related to the exact thing I underlined. Like, who knew? Yes, killing it, yay. So feel free with that B1 to really try to think it through, because remember, those are those more intense questions that are about things like inferencing and recognizing main ideas, understanding words in context. So there's a lot that goes along with those B selections. So you will be doing both the A and the B selections on Wednesdays. And again, it's not every Wednesday. It's Wednesdays when we don't have a short week of some kind, okay? Because there are some Wednesdays where we have a holiday and then we don't have the remote Wednesday, okay? So on that Wednesday, we wouldn't have one, okay? So that's kind of the way that everything is going to go with our timed reading. Again, I know it's not always our favorite thing, but there are a lot of things in life that are not my favorite, but I recognize that they are necessary. I will say that about my experiences in school, my experiences in the workplace. There have been so many times in life where I didn't choose the thing that I was doing, but ultimately it made me better. I learned, I grew, and I became better in an area where I needed to improve a bit. So this is going to be one of those moments for you, okay? And I would say it'll be 12 minutes or so, easy minutes on a Wednesday whenever we're remote, okay? Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.